And Senator Gardner and I were able to pass the Asia Reassurance Initiative that was signed by President Trump in December. And just more and more reports coming out of China makes it clear why we need that legislation and why we have to work on a bipartisan basis to continue to deal with this China threat. This morning, the Wall Street Journal detailed an internal Navy report stating that the United States Navy and its industry partners are, quote, under cyber siege. This follows an earlier report that a known Chinese hacking group is behind a series of cyber attacks on American universities as part of an elaborate scheme to steal research about maritime technology. In fact, this morning's Wall Street Journal article references letters I sent this week to the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security asking how they are ensuring that sensitive and classified military information at research institutions and universities are protected. After all, in this age of great power competition, it should come as no surprise that Chinese hackers are targeting academic institutions with valuable information about U.S. military capabilities. Dr. Mastro, as someone who has worked in academia, in think tanks, and for the U.S. military, how well do you think our government is doing in ensuring that sensitive and classified material is protected at research institutions and defense contractors? And what more should we be doing to ensure that that information is being protected?
Sir, thank you for that question. It gives me an opportunity to really highlight, I think, one of the main issues, which is that many people who don't focus on China or the China challenge are relatively naive about some of the security challenges that come with whether it's having sensitive information or research at universities in which the main goal is the creation of knowledge for knowledge's sake, or allowing Confucius Institutes to be funded. In many cases, people who are outside of this field don't understand those risks. And so it's less, I think, that the government is not protecting that information, but more that a lot of those protections aren't necessarily in place in some of these places, that the Chinese are able to find certain weak spots, whether it is in the networks in which they're
bottom line, that just means we're not doing the job. If they can find weak spots, then we're not doing the job.
Yes, sir. I agree. I think I was trying to say it more diplomatically,
right.
but yes, I think we're not doing the job, and we're not having a whole of government approach in which people in the business community, in academia, in all fields and sectors understand the challenge of China.
I appreciate that. Now, last week, Eric Rosenbach, who has extensive experience in national security, testified that it wasn't fair to leave security up to universities and that DOD should do more to help protect information. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that, but to be a bit pessimistic, the DOD has its own issues with ensuring that its own networks are protected from hacking, and it has its own vulnerabilities vis-a-vis China.
You're becoming less diplomatic as this question is going on. Excellent. The words just have to be said. Okay, right. They just has to be said. They're not doing the job, and it exposes the whole system from top to bottom. And the Chinese are attacking, and here's the words. The U.S. Navy is under cyber siege right now. So I'd like now to stay on the topic of China and cybersecurity. CNN reported on Monday that rural American telecom companies have installed equipment from the Chinese firm Huawei within their cellular networks operating in close proximity to a field of intercontinental ballistic missiles outside of Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. According to James Lewis, a cybersecurity expert at CSIS, the Chinese government, quote, could decide to interfere with ICBM command and control or with ICBM personnel, the people manning the missile silos. Dr. Mastro, with the recognition that we should be cautious about generalizing too much about the nature of the threats, what level of threat could foreign telecommunications technologies pose to U.S. ballistic missiles and their associated command and control networks?
So it's my understanding from cyber experts that the degree to which this presents a threat depends on the exact technology, the system it's a part of, and what it's networked into. And therefore, I think this really highlights the need not only for the DoD to be focusing on cyber efforts, but for there to be more efforts for Silicon Valley and DoD to work together so that we have the technical expertise necessary to be able to adequately answer that question.
Right. So can we have a high degree of confidence that our existing nuclear command and control networks, given the advent of and deployment of Chinese advanced technology in close proximity to the most deadly weapons on the planet, in fact, may be vulnerable? How high a level of confidence can we have? What state of knowledge do we have?
So, sir, I would say I'm not equipped to say whether those towers themselves present a risk, but I would say given Chinese capabilities, the risks are there and their ability to
Do you
disrupt
think it
them.
makes sense for us to bring in temporarily outside cyber experts to help the Department of Defense? Would that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I thank you for that recommendation. Would you agree with that, Commissioner?
Yeah, I would, and, they looted our defense contractors 3 years ago. They're continuing to do it, and it's going to get worse as 5G rolls out, Senator. And
I agree.
I mean, because the number of devices that are going to be extant is going to go up by a factor of something like 10, and the Chinese are engaged in a major competition to control 5G. If they do that and produce those devices, we're not going to be able to trust anything that happens. Now, I will say, I have a fair degree of confidence in the department itself's cyber defenses, but I agree. I think this is something we have to act on. We have to plan.
Again, you're being diplomatic. You're saying, I have a fair degree of confidence, okay? I don't think I have.
You know what? You're right.
security should be
And I'll
built
put it
on-
this way.
Yeah.
I have very little confidence
Okay,
in
good.
actors outside, certainly, of the department, and I'm concerned about that.
Okay,
And
yeah.
we have to assume that they're going to be situationally aware about the capabilities of our systems and our platforms in the event that there is a conflict, because they have reconnoitered it through cyber. You raised an outstanding point.
My feeling about the Chinese is very simple. They're not 10 feet tall, but they have a plan. What's our plan? Who's our cyber leader in the federal government? Who's the person whose name we all know that you would call and say, what do they know about this potential threat? We don't know that person. And we can beat China in anything they do, but you need a plan. They have one. What is our plan? And you can't just have a fairly high level of confidence. You just can't, wonder whether or not these agencies are providing extra help to the universities in order to protect the secrets that they have as well. We have to have a plan, and someone has to be able to articulate it to this committee what that plan is. Otherwise, they will exploit these secrets to their advantage and our disadvantage and our allies. Thank you, Mr.
Well said, Senator.